Hello everyone, my name is Angela Higgins, and for my Advanced Art and Design Studio project of 2019, I decided to do an album redesign. I decided to do Mac Miller's album Swimming. It was his latest released album since he has passed away back in September of 2018. Because it was the album that he was touring with, I decided to make it more of a tribute to him and less of just an album redesign. So when I was working on designing the cover of it, I was listening to a lot of his music, not only from the Swimming album, but his other studio recorded albums as well, just to kind of get a better understanding and feel for who he is and what impact he left on this earth that he wanted to describe in this album. So when I was doing a lot of my research on who he is, I found this quote that talks about his battles and struggles in life. It says, "It just seems exhausting to always be battling something, to always be battling for what you think your image is supposed to be. You're never going to be able to get anything across. No one's ever going to really know the real me." And because of that, I wanted to not only bring out who Mac Miller is, but his real name is Malcolm McCormick, so I wanted to bring out who Malcolm truly is. So when I was doing some more research of who he was, I found that he was just a genuinely happy person in life and really loving and caring. But towards the end of his life, he was going through a lot of struggles and battling a lot. So I wanted to bring out a little bit more of that because that's how he was dealing with life during this album. I wanted to bring that out in this album cover. So I decided to go out and find some inspiration for that. I decided to use these pictures here on the left, the top one being a calm blue, just to kind of represent the sadness and calmness that people feel when they listen to his music now that he has passed away. I also wanted to incorporate water, not only because the album is called Swimming and you obviously swim in water, but it's also a good visual of life's struggles and just trying to stay afloat through all of that. I also wanted to incorporate hands because he has touched a lot of people's lives and left a major impact in the hip hop community when he passed away. So to not only resemble that, but also just kind of bring out the purity of his soul. So for the cover of the album, I decided to use that calm blue mixed with the water, and I just have it as a real image for the background. And then on top of that, I decided to illustrate out his face and his hands because it kind of represents that he's here, but not necessarily in our world anymore, with the illustration on top of the real image. So when I was illustrating it out, I decided to leave the hands empty just to show the meaning behind the hands that I had just talked about, as well as showing how he's not really struggling anymore and now he's free. So on top of that, in my research, I found that he was just very minimalistic and just didn't really care about the luxury of all the little things in life. And he was just really wanted to make a connection with his fans. So I decided to use a sans serif font to represent that minimalistic style that he lived, but also wanted to space out the lettering a little bit more with turning up the kerning because it represents the distance and space between him and his audience and fans now. So that was for the cover of the album. And then for the back, I decided to use that same image, just at a lower opacity, just so you could read the name of the songs, because it's very important because this album was supported by 3 singles, being What's the Use, Self-Care, and Small Worlds. So just by hearing the name of these songs and all the other songs on there as well, it really shows that he was struggling and kind of battling a lot in life towards the end. And then I went on and created or mocked up what it would look like if I were to actually make this. And I actually did make it, so this is just the mock-up that I have of it. But then I also wanted to make an insert that it goes into the album as well. So it's the 13 songs that are on the album, and the blues come from that cover as well. But then it's just an accordion style fold book that fits right into the vinyl case for it. And then I have the name of the songs on the top as well as the lyrics, and then just some more additional information about each song, like who produced it and who else helped write it. But like I said, it just fits right into the album case. And then I wanted to make it more personal for the fans just because it's more of a tribute to him. So I wanted to make it something where they could hang up on their wall or cut apart if they had a favorite song and mock or put that up on their wall as well. So just something for the fans to make it more personal to them. I also designed some merchandise and actually printed it out. I screen printed t-shirts of that illustration I made at 3 inches on the left side chest. I did t-shirts and long sleeve shirts, all being black and white, but could be in any other color. That's just the colors that I decided to go with. And then I have 3 different designs, all very similar. The most different one is on the bottom. I just have that fading effect from the colors from the album cover just to kind of tie that in. But I decided to just do a black and white and a blue just to kind of pop out with that blue. But it's just kind of layering over each other, just a different style. I then decided to design the back or the deck of a skateboard of the album cover just without the typography on it, just because it kind of resembles him a little bit more. He was into skateboarding and a lot of his fans are too, so I just wanted to make something again that would be just a tribute to him. And then in the future, if there were to ever be a tribute tour, just because, like I said, he left a major impact in the hip-hop community and a lot of people are really sad when he passed away and are still grieving about it. So I wanted to design something where if it were to be a tribute, using the tribute album would make a lot of sense. So designing it to match that as well. So I mocked up what would be some tickets. I decided to use the Pittsburgh one for an example because that's where he's from. So I mocked up some of those tickets as well as creating advertisements for it. So I just have flyers and posters about the tribute tour dates and locations. I decided to use his ones where he was touring with. So the dates and locations would be the same as his original tour, just at a later time in the future. So these are just some of the advertisements I made for that and mock-ups that I decided to do, as well as a billboard just because I wanted to go bigger. So I decided to mock it up into more of a city setting just because that's where a lot of his tours would be at, and he's more of a city guy and just more of the hip-hop style. So I wanted to design something that we would see if there were to be a tribute tour. So it's just simple, the album cover, as well as just having what it is, the fact that it's a tribute tour, who it is, and what album it is. So Mac Miller's Swimming album. Then I have my time card of how many hours I've spent on this project. I spent a lot of hours just trying to figure out what his style and aesthetic was and what I wanted to really bring out in the album, as well as making the illustration of his face. That took a really long time, and coming up with how I wanted to put it all together, and then developing and making everything, not only the mock-ups and the online stuff, but when I printed everything out and made the physical copies, that took a lot of time too. Went through a lot of mistakes and learned how to fix that, and everything came out pretty well in the end, I'd say. So then putting everything together and practicing this took some time too. So just overall spent a lot of time on this project and was really happy with how it turned out. But I just want to say thank you for your time, and I hope that this will someday be a real tribute tour.